All right, so I get this question and it's, should I go to art school or should I not go to art school? And you know, for everyone's scenario, it's a little different. So I'm gonna kind of go over the few things to help kind of give you the pros and cons of going to art school. Just so you know, I'm just not some scrub on the YouTube. You know, I'm a successful artist. I have a big studio here. I have a gallery at a really nice resort, and I make a living and provide a job for quite a few other people. So I've been able to do it, to make an artist. And I've gone to art school and I've gone that route, but I've also realized that a lot of my success just came from trial and errors. A lot of what we're trying to do with this channel is to help you not make the same errors I've made and kind of help you minimize your mistakes. Now that you know where I'm coming from, here's a short version of the pros and cons of art school. I'll get into each of these in a second, but if you only want to watch a minute or two, here you go. So the pros are, it forces discipline on you. You know, it makes you go for 4 years and show up a few times a week and do the work. Also, networking. You know, you meet a lot of people, you meet a lot of teachers. It's a great way to start meeting people. Art school will give you a credential that you could be a teacher. It's a lot of fun just going to school. Classmates, painting with classmates, doing that sort of thing. Another pro to art school is making connections with teachers, you know, being able to have that apprenticeship among them. Also, critiques are really important. You know, if you're really starting out as an artist, it's great to get critiques and help guide you along your way. So the cons of going to art school is it does take a lot of time, 4 years, right? Also, the money aspect of it. Another con of art school is discipline. You know, if you already have it, you don't necessarily need to go and do the discipline on someone else's schedule. Art school doesn't necessarily prepare you for making money the day you graduate. To be a successful artist, you might never need to present your degree to anyone. You know, I haven't really shown it to anyone. One thing too about art school is it doesn't encourage sales. You know, so at the end of it, well, what are you gonna do? You haven't learned about the actual act of standing in front of your art and selling it. One thing about not going to art school is you can say you're self-taught, you know? They say, how do you know an artist didn't go to art school? Well, they'll tell you. So now that you got the brief kind of overview of the pros and cons of art school, I mean, I know these are pretty basic, but I'm gonna dive into them just a little bit more to help clarify and kind of talk about the pro and con at the same time so you can see the yin and yang to each, okay? So the first one, art discipline. You know, art school is great for this because it makes you show up, you know, 3 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, and it makes you put in the work because you're paying to do that, you know? But if you already have a strong work ethic and a discipline and a focus on being a professional artist, you might find that it's easier for you to be on your own path of the discipline. You know, you might find that you can work your day job and still put in 4 or 5 hours of learning the world of art on your own. I have a video that kind of basically outlines what art school is and what you learn through the semesters. If you're gonna do it on your own, you can kind of take that formula and start seeing how many hours you need to put in which areas to get the same basic education. So networking is great pros and cons, you know, like you don't need to go to art school to make a great network of artists and artist friends. School's great for that. You get friends, teachers, all that stuff that are in the passionate thing that you're into, you know, so it's a lot of fun. But you can also find that on the internet these days, and the internet's a great place to do it. Also, in real life, you can go to art festivals, art shows, and just really putting yourself out there in the little art scene that's in your community and start networking that way. So the pros and cons of art school, yes or no, being a teacher, you know, do you want to be an art teacher? Do you want to do that? So if you really do, which I understand, it's kind of the reason why I'm doing this whole tutorial thing on how to be a professional artist is because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy having an apprentice here in my studio. I enjoy sharing what I've learned along the way. So if you want to be a teacher, you got to understand that you might get your art degree, but you're also going to need to get your teaching credential. And that's just for teaching, you know, high school and lower. So if you want to be an art professor, you're going to need to get a master's degree as well. And, you know, if you're going to be a high school teacher or lower, you know, you're looking at, you know, making $75,000 a year or less. If you're an art professor, let's say $150,000 for some good ones, you know, I mean, it varies what school you're going to and where, but you're really capped at that, you know? So I really do believe it's possible for anyone to make $75,000 a year doing art. Granted, it's gonna be a lot more work than getting summers off and paid vacations and all that stuff, but it's totally doable. I mean, it wasn't long until I was making a average teacher's salary selling art. So it's very doable to make that same amount of living. It's more work, but it's very enjoyable as well. So pro and con, fun times with classmates, the whole college experience, you know, that's really great. It's a blast. But if you are kind of an introvert, you know, anyways, you know, your personality isn't going out there and doing a bunch of stuff with a bunch of people, then, you know, you're not going to really benefit from that. You know, I'm kind of a hermit in my own way, and I kind of like to stay secluded and do my own thing. And so going out and doing the stuff with a bunch of other students and a bunch of classmates, it just wasn't really my thing. So I didn't really gain a whole lot from that by going to art school. A fun part about art school is getting to try out a bunch of mediums. You know, this is great if you just like, oh, I want to be creative. I'm not sure what I want to do yet. You know, the first 2 years of art school are going to be fun because you can try out a lot of stuff. On the other side of that, you can go to a community college and enroll yourself in a couple classes here and there. You don't have to fully commit to a degree. You can be like, oh, I'm going to go take ceramics this semester. Oh, I'm going to go do glass blowing. I'm going to do metalwork. I'm going to do all these little things. You don't have to commit a whole 4 years and a ton of money to it. So those are kind of ways to experiment. If you already know, I'm an acrylic painter, I'm an oil painter, I'm a ceramics maker, you kind of don't really need to spend those first 2 years of college checking out other stuff. You know what you love to do and just focus on that. So one thing about art school that is really important, and it's how to critique your work and how to talk about other people's work, how to talk about your own work. So this is probably one of the better things I think that you're going to get out of going to art school. You know, if you're just at home doing artwork in your basement and your mom's the only one that's going to critique you, well, it's going to be hard to get some really honest feedback. So if you're not going to go the art school route and you're going the I'm going to do it on my own, you need to get out there, do art festivals, art fairs, art shows as much as you can and get that feedback from people that don't know you, or you want to get the real honest feedback from people. You don't want to get your friends telling you because they're either going to be too harsh or too light on you. So critique is really important. So if you're not going to art school, make sure you're getting some good, honest feedback about your work and how to make it better. So the aspect of time is a big one with the pros and cons. You know, they say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master, and this is totally true and correct. So you have to put in the work either way. School's going to give you a little more structure. So other than the classes that aren't necessarily art related, you're looking at about 2,000 hours of work. So in your path to 10,000, it's going to help you get there. You're going to get those 2,000 hours in. But that's 2,000 hours on someone else's schedule. You know, you can really do a lot of work on your own if you like to stay up late and do your art practice then, you know, whether it's studying artist, working on your medium, working on your how to take photos of it, and kind of doing the whole layout I've given in the basics of art school video. So the money factor is important too with art school. You know, let's say on the cheap end, $20,000, that's $5,000 a year, that's $2,500 a semester. You know, that's probably around the community college level, right, of school. So this is all rough numbers. It's been quite a while. I'm gonna have to look at my notes for this. So if art school costs 20 grand for 4 years and it's 2,000 total hours of work, that's 5.5 hours a day for 1 year. So if you go, okay, I really want to be an artist, I don't want to spend the money going to art school, I'm just going to get a day job, but I'm going to commit 1 year to this, you can do it in 5.5 hours a day. That's pretty easy. That's, you know, having dinner, and instead of going to watch TV or hanging out with your friends every night, that's, you know, spending 5 hours doing what you already love to do. So there's other ways around it that aren't stretched out for so long. You don't have to take a 2-month summer break when you're doing art school on your own. You can power right through this. You know, if you're young, if you're 16, you're 18, you can really just jump right into it and have all that knowledge before you're 20, and then you can start getting out there in the art world and start selling it. And you're gonna be way further ahead than the kids that don't do anything but just go to art school and then come out 4 years later. You know, you're gonna hit the ground running. So that's really something to consider. So instead of spending 20 grand on art school over those 4 years or 2,000 hours, you know, that breaks down to about $10 an hour. So you can either be paying to do that work, or it's not paying, or kind of almost getting paid to do it because you got to spend the hours anyway. So is it worth it to you to be shelling out that money to force your discipline, or is it better you can do it on your own, get a day job, even have the day job be something where it's like, it's in line of what you do. You know, you might not be making a lot of money, but it's along the path of what you're trying to do as an artist. So that's a big factor right there. If you can kind of find that little niche and stick to it, and you got the discipline, you know, you're gonna move ahead a lot quicker than someone in art school who isn't paying attention or is only giving it 50% of their effort. So another thing is the degree. You know, at the end of art school, you're gonna have work to show, but generally it's based on assignments. So it's not really the work that you do for art school that's gonna be in your portfolio. Your portfolio is gonna be what you're doing on the side outside of school, right? So if you're gonna go get hired at a job, at a creative job, they're gonna look more at your portfolio than what they're gonna then look at a degree. You can have a master's degree, but a poor portfolio and not get the job. But if you have an amazing portfolio and no degree, wow, this guy's really, or guy or gal is really encouraged to do it and can learn on their own. Like that's kind of more of a credential, you know? So getting a good portfolio together is really important, and you're not necessarily gonna get that in art school. It's up to you to get a good portfolio together, which takes a lot of work. So you might want to just focus on getting some really good pieces together, getting your body of work together, and focusing on that. So kind of the last thing is art school really doesn't encourage art sales. You know, they really want to do art for art's sake, which is so important when you're starting out. You need to be doing the art that you love because you want to do it, because that's what you have to do in life, right? But they don't encourage the sales part. You know, you might take a business class here, but it's outside of kind of the classes you're supposed to take for an artist. To be a professional artist, you need to sell artwork. This is so important, and it totally gets overlooked in school, in my opinion. You can start learning about sales on your own. There's so much stuff on the internet, on YouTube, how to sell. We're working on doing a lot of stuff here on my channel. You can make it happen. Getting out there, doing your first markets, doing your first little art shows, figuring out the sales, making that stuff happen is so important. And if you're in art school, you're gonna be surrounded by people that aren't necessarily worried about selling art, which is totally okay, and I understand that. But when you get out of school, you gotta start doing that. And you'll have spent 4 years not thinking about sales, where it is important to, if you wanna be a professional artist, start thinking about sales immediately, you know? Do it for the fun of it, but how am I gonna turn this into paying my bills? So another thing is being able to say you went to art school. I know that it's helped me out in the past with sales when I'm talking to a collector and discussing stuff. They're kind of a little surprised that I went to art school for some reason, and I think it's because my work is kind of simple and it doesn't seem like it's very thought out, but I do have an art school mentality of when I create it. You know, I think about everything. I think about all the elements of design, yada yada. So I put a lot into it intellectually into my pieces, though it may not look like it, but it's there. So I do see the benefit of being able to, oh yeah, I went to art school, I'm a legit artist, but that's not so important. If your art's awesome and amazing, no one cares if you went to art school or not, you know? So either way, if you say you went to art school or didn't go to art school, but you're out there selling art and talking to someone about your art, you've already won. So it's a win-win, you know? It just depends on what you want to do, what your style is, how disciplined are you? That's probably the most important thing. How disciplined are you? Are you able to put in that work? Honestly? Yeah? No? You need some help guiding you? Okay, well, that's great. You know, maybe art school is the best approach, but if you're not going to go to art school, it's up to you to find the resources that you need to learn. And there's a ton of stuff on YouTube. There's a ton of it out there. You can get a better education with the information on YouTube, you know, searching correctly and listening to the right people, than you can at art school. Now, art school might have changed in the 18 years since I've been to school, but you know, the elements are all there. So it's really important to have that discipline, take the knowledge that's out there, learn from, you know, with art school, you're gonna be a semi-apprentice to the teachers in a sense, but it's really important for you, if you're not going to art school, to kind of take that apprenticeship mentality and finding mentors out there. They're not gonna find you, you gotta go out there and look for them. You're gonna have to do everything on your own. No one's gonna tell you what to do and how to do it exactly. We're gonna try to here on the channel, try to help you out, maybe save you some money on school or save you some time down the road, but it's up to you. You've got to do the work. Right, so those are my pros and cons for going to art school. I think you should do whatever feels right. You can take this information and think about it a little more, but if you're not doing the work, you have to be doing the work to make any of it valuable. If you're not painting on your own and doing your own thing already before art school, you might not even do it during art school, and then you'll just be another person that has a degree that isn't using it. So if you're going to art school, make sure you're gonna take that degree and turn it into a business where you can be a creative and get paid to do it. So I hope this video helps. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out all the other videos that I got on here. I'm really trying to get these videos together to help the young artists kind of get off the ground, get their ball rolling, and start making money at it. If I can be a professional artist, so can you. But it takes a ton of work, and hopefully we can be the guidance to kind of help you steer you in the right directions and not make the same mistakes I have. All right, until next time, aloha.